This episode was co-produced with the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation, a non-profit organization which aims to support startups and promote the Swiss ecosystem capable of commercializing innovative technologies. Over the next few weeks, we will be releasing a total of 6 bonus episodes. These episodes will focus on the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation's Upscaler program, designed to help rapidly growing startups, as well as on the SWESA, the Swiss Entrepreneurs and Startup Association, which represents all companies and institutions that want to further optimize the economic policy framework in Switzerland. To find out more about the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation, visit swissef.ch. And now, on with the show.
The political system is the complete opposite to what you're doing in startups.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Simon, very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You are the CEO of the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation and also president of the Swiss Entrepreneurs and Startup Association, or in short called SWESA, an organization that aims to improve the framework conditions for innovative SMEs and startups in the long term. So before we dive into your work about what you do at SWESA, I just wonder, why did you actually decide to join SWESA in the first place? What was your personal motivation behind that?
Actually, I didn't join SWESA, but I founded it, basically. No, the background is a little bit the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation. So we have like 3 main pillars there. One is improving the framework conditions on a political level. The other one is to move or to bring forward startups that want to be scaled up, that want to go international. That's our Upscaler program. And the third one is to improve the situation we have in Switzerland in terms of funding. And we have been working quite 2 years. It was about 2 years where we tried to set up some kind of political action plan together with Parmelin, who is the patron of the foundation, and of course we also had different persons that were supporting us on the political level, like Rudi Noser or Marcel Dobler, and then we finally found out that we maybe need another association or just another organization to institutionalize the political work. And this was where the idea of SWESA or this association was actually coming out from.
Perfect. And I also wonder, president, that is a very big word. So I just wonder, your role as president at SWESA, what does that actually mean? What do you do at the organization?
The president does the work. So I'm a working president. No, it's just maybe it's just the usual wording we have in Switzerland when it comes to Verbände, associations. They usually have a president, and the Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation. I mean, this comes a little bit out of my double role at the foundation and the association. We needed to have some kind of a president or chairman or CEO, you name it, who leads the whole thing, and that's why I went to this role. But don't overestimate the word president. It's actually work to do.
Got it. So let's talk about the work that you do at SWESA. You already mentioned a few pillars that you are actively working in. Mm-hmm. And out of all the political hurdles that startups face today in Switzerland, what is one that really speaks to you the most, the one that you think needs the most fixing on a political level?
Well, first, I think we already have a very good situation within Switzerland. The improvement that has been made in terms of the number of startups or the number of funding rounds is quite good, and I think it's a very good home base to start your own company. But when something is already good, you need to look after it, that it keeps as it is or stays as it is. And on the other side, there are always some minor or major things that still can be improved. And when we break it down to, let's say, 3 pillars, I'd say it's tax in different areas. So not only for founders but also for investors. Mm-hmm. It's talent. This is something that's coming up all the time. And maybe the third thing is funding. But there, I think we have seen a lot of improvement over the last couple of years. But I think there's still potential around. And I'm talking about Switzerland and not foreign capital coming into Swiss startups. But we should have or try to have a better access to Swiss domestic capital that goes into Swiss startups.
Yeah, that's very crucial, right? Because then when a potential exit happens further down the road, you want to have that money flooding back into the ecosystem. And if you're financed by, abroad VCs, then that just doesn't happen. Then the money goes somewhere else.
That's the point, exactly. And as everything in the political landscape, this takes time, of course. And the Swiss political process, that's not about quick wins. It's about work, and it's about convincing people. But I'm actually optimistic when I see what changed over the last couple of years.
I would also like to talk a bit about the visa part, mm-hmm. the access to talent.
Yes.
Why does this hurdle exist currently? Because I feel like in terms of fundraising, as you mentioned, there is still room for, improvements, but we've gone a pretty good way in the past. And also on the taxes, there were multiple things that changed, not on all cantons, but in some cantons, the situation for founders really improved and now might also improve for business angels. But about the talent, there I still see a big block, a huge work ahead of you, basically. So please talk a bit more about what's the current hurdle in terms of talent and what can we do about that?
I think, first of all, it's a more political issue than access to funding. Funding is mainly a private thing. I think the political framework is still good. We just need to bring the actors like pension funds into the system and make investments into Swiss startups a bit more attractive than it has been in the last couple of years. And when we talk about startup visa, it's immediately having a political color, because it's about the Masseneinwanderungsinitiative, things like that. There are different points of view when you talk to the different political parties, and when you have the same discussions about funding, every political party supports flourishing Swiss startup ecosystem in general, but when it comes to the details, it's a little bit different. And I think maybe we are also just a little bit delayed when you look at other countries, also countries where you didn't expect it, like Chile. They have some kind of startup visa programs, may it be only for founders or also for specialists coming into the country to support a local startup. And I think that's the main reason, because it's a very, very political question we have to handle here. And another thing that's maybe coming into the game is the definition of a startup. It's always difficult to have initiatives which are really focusing on startups. So it's always better if you have a broad access also to SMEs, and where you can present advantages also for SMEs. And when it's limited to startups, it's usually a bit difficult.
Got it. And in that regard, now you talked about the startup visa, or maybe however you want to call it, the visa for innovative SMEs and startups, maybe a better term. How does Swiss actually work to overcome the current challenges? Because you said it's pretty political. So how do your next steps and also your timeline in regards to this look like?
We just had a very interesting meeting in December during the parliamentary winter session together with Economy Suisse. So we paired up with a very well-known and powerful association to address this topic once again. So it's not a new topic, as you know. It has already been brought up several times. And at this moment, actually, we are trying to finalize a political initiative or action plan to initiate the next step in this issue. So I think it's about, in the end, it will be about convincing mainly people from parties which are usually not very pro in terms of immigration. And but as you know, SWESA and the parliamentary group, it's a very mixed group. If you look at the parliamentary group, it's all the different parties from left to right. So I think this is very important if we try to have a common base on these specific topics. Right. But to make it short, we are actually working on it and try to finalize this action plan by mid-March to bring it into the system, and then we will see how it will develop.
Awesome. I can't wait for that, because I think in that regard, the access to talent is so crucial. And if you can attract the best people to come and work in Swiss startups, then you probably also attract the money further down the road. So basically money probably follows the talent, because you want to invest in the best people out there.
Absolutely. And so, it's also, I think we are not on a blind flight here, because when you do surveys in the startup ecosystem, I think this is a topic that even comes before tax. If you listen to the requirements, and so I think this needs to be on our top list.
Perfect. So I'm really glad that you work on that. Thank you. You mentioned the political landscape, right? So I also feel that sometimes startups, they always hear about, the political games and the political work, but are not too close to that. So from your perspective, are there any misconceptions that you think startup founders have regarding Swiss politics? I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, everybody has it, no?
Probably, yeah.
No, I think I perfectly understand, as a founder, you are so much involved in your core business, and you struggle with your daily challenges, and you just don't have the time to follow the political process all the time. So I think that's just human. We tried to set up a very simple database together with Startup Ticker, where we listed let's say the most important political initiatives which are relevant for startups, to provide some kind of an overview. And maybe this helps a little bit for a founder who has not a lot of time to see, okay, that's already going on in this field where we already try to have some impact. There are a few names which are quite well known, like Rudi Noser, who did a lot of actions here, or Fatih Derder. He is no longer in politics, but was extremely active when it came to startups. And a lot of topics have already been brought into the parliament, but sometimes you just lose the overview. It's also for us, it's one of the main topics to follow all the action and to see what's going on. And maybe the second reason is that the political system is the complete opposite to what you're doing in startups. You need to be quick, you need to be fast, you need to adopt as fast as possible. And in politics, it's just a slow process. And that's not because politicians are lazy or whatever. It's just the system. And that's not something you can change from one day to the other.
Right.
And maybe it's also a benefit because it provides a stable basis for for the Swiss ecosystem.
Sure.
We know interruptions are rude, so we'll make it quick. The more positive ratings we have, the more people we can reach. So if you want to hear more from the Swisspreneur team, give our show a rating on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute.
I also would like to pick up something that one of our previous guests, Gaspar Copetti from Onshoes, mentioned in an interview last year in 2020. Well, his co-founder, Olivier Bernhard, actually said it, and he said that Switzerland, from his perspective, has more money than ideas. Do you think that this is a fair assessment from, all the startups that you've been working with and everything that you see in the ecosystem? Do you think that this is a fair statement?
I'm not sure, actually. Sometimes I can understand why he sees it like that, and he's actually not the only one. If you ask Danny Gutenberg, for example, he said something that is very similar in terms of there is a lot of money in Switzerland, so money is not the problem. We just need to find the people who are willing to build a company and to take risk. Maybe some part of it is true, but on the other hand, if you look at this yearly indexes of competitive countries, where Switzerland always is ranked on rank 1 to 3, I think there are a lot of good ideas. A lot. It's just maybe it's just a question of how to commercialize them. Mm-hmm. So, and this, in my opinion, this is a weakness of the Swiss system. Not the ideas itself, but how to bring the ideas into products and sales.
Right. And then you see, we land right back on the talent question. So this is really the clear position why this is so important. I think you can really not overemphasize this enough, the importance of talent.
Absolutely, but it's not only about importing talents. I think it's also about building talent. I mean, when I look back at my education in economics, I mean that's a long time ago, but becoming an entrepreneur was never actually a topic. Mm-hmm. You were trained to work in banks, in whatever kind of service companies, or at the government, but this was never like a topic. And I think we could change some things here, although of course universities like St. Gallen and EPFL, they produce a lot of spin-offs, but there is some hidden potential, I think, as well.
But I also think that this sort of perception is changing, because you have like Elon Musk and all the other rock star entrepreneurs out there that serve as big role models. So the younger generation probably really does want to see, hey, they are founders of their own companies, they run businesses, so this is a career that I also want to pursue. Then probably the opportunity costs are high in Switzerland if you can earn a lot of money by going into banking or consulting. Yeah. But overall, I feel that the perception is really changing, and more people are actually interested in starting their own company. I think last year we also had a new record of how many companies were founded in Switzerland. So I think the trend is showing in the right direction there. It's getting more popular as a career path or career alternative.
I really hope so, yeah. But that's also something we hear sometimes from the Silicon Valley. This is posing a problem more and more, because talents from the top universities are moving more and more to the big tech giants, where they can earn a lot of money and have their work-life balance and some other benefits. And I think that's exactly what you say. But I hope that it will develop in the right direction.
Absolutely. I also wonder, if you now look back to 2 years at SWESA, were there any learnings that you can share from the past? Maybe some plans that didn't work out as planned or took longer, or where you had to change your strategy?
Well, not yet. SWESA is only about a year old. So the ideas, of course, they started earlier. It was about 2 years ago, but then we finally founded it in March 2020, so just 1 week before the first lockdown. So we were surprised about the traction we could gain in the first year, because we, beside of the meetings with the parliamentary group, we've been invited to take part in a tax group of Uli Maurer, as a small association that has been just founded 3 months ago, and suddenly we were beside of Gewerbeverband and Economy Suisse to talk about the startup requirements. This was for me, it was very this made us happy to see what we could achieve. And on the other side, it's still, there are many players in the Swiss ecosystem. There are many supporters, there are many incubators, and it's sometimes difficult to find the right one or to position yourself right. But I think due to the fact that we really basically only focus on these political issues, this was a benefit for us. So we never aimed to do a lot of community building or additional offerings for our members. And I think in the first year, or maybe also in the first 2 or 3 years, we need to stick to that and to say, look, we are just taking care of the boring politics, but that's our our mission, and this is what we want to do. So so far, I think it was quite satisfying what we could do in this first year.
Yeah, I also think having this clear focus and then being really the best in doing that, I think that's crucial, that you really have this expertise and also get really, really good at what you do. In that regard, also a question that gets asked quite often is, there's also the Swiss Startup Association. So some people also wonder, what is the difference between SWESA and the Swiss Startup Association?
Good question. The two associations have been founded more or less at the same time. And Raphael Dobler and myself, we had several calls where we tried to sharpen our positioning. And I completely understand that it is very difficult for a startup that just sees, okay, a Swiss Startup Association, and 2 minutes later, SWESA, okay, what are they actually trying to do? So you need to spend a minute or two on it, and to make it very short. It's, as I said before, so we focus on really on this political issues, while SSA has a broader approach, I'd say. It's more about offering like templates to their members, and doing a little bit more of community building when it comes to startup issues. But we are also working together. Of course, it's not an institutionalized process, but we are regularly exchanging our ideas. We already had someone, Esther Khan, from the board of SSA in a meeting that we had with the parliamentary group. So it's it's very good. It's maybe not too good when it comes to attracting members, because then it's a little bit difficult. But we are absolutely pain free. Maybe one day we will merge with SSA. It's not a competition in the end of the day.
Right. And I think that's also the important part, right? So you can be involved in both associations, basically, or support both to a certain degree, as long as you really serve the startup ecosystem, want to bring that forward. I think that's the main motivation of both, and that's the crucial part.
Absolutely.
So now we talked about the past, and I also wonder, you already mentioned a bit, but what can we expect from you and SWESA over the next 12 months? Of course, access to talents, fundraising, and taxes are the topics, but what else do we have in place? What are the specifics that you plan to tackle over the 12 next months?
Well, you basically named it. As you know, we are small and we do not have unlimited manpower and money. But as you said, so tax, talent, and funding will remain on the list. First will be this the startup visa issue. So to make a political initiative out of it. And then the second one is probably funding, where you remember the last March or April when it came to these bridging loans for startups. Then we could also see that there is probably a gap in recognizing startups on the radar when it comes to financial support. And that's something that will be on our list, maybe in terms of an ongoing COVID crisis. We still don't know how this will end in probably just 1 year or even longer. And on the other side, we are trying to find out how we could have a better access to the Swiss pension funds.
I love that. I think there's a huge potential that you are unlocking there, if that works.
There is a huge potential. I absolutely agree. It's of course not only a political issue. It's also about the statutes of those different pension funds. But I think there is so much money in Switzerland, and not only talking about pension funds, but also about asset management of HNWI clients. It's so much money around, and I think a very small part should go into the Swiss startup ecosystem. And this is something we are trying to figure out how we could improve that, basically on the political level, but also directly with the pension funds.
Perfect. So now we talked a lot about SWESA, but we also want to know a bit more about you as a person behind all of this. So we have some rapid fire questions prepared for you. Are you ready?
I try, yes.
So the first one, what was your summer job as a teenager?
I had two different ones. One was mowing the lawn at a shop owner in the village I grew up. But that was not just a summer job, it was basically a weekly job. And the typical summer job, I had actually two of them. One was filling up at the Coop supermarket. I was responsible for non-alcoholic drinks. And the other one, that was the first one for me, was at a company that was named Swiss Pack. They packed cheese in vacuum packages for export. Nice. And the funny thing was the cheese came in and you had to prepare it and slice it. And the floor was covered by these cheese particles. You never ever could bring the smell out of your shoes. So after 2 weeks in this job, you had to get rid of the shoes. You couldn't clean them.
I can imagine. The next question for you. What are you most proud of in your life?
Most proud of? I have two nice little boys. Sometimes I'm proud of them. Sometimes I'm exhausted, especially when you work a week from home and they are screaming and yelling all the time. But no, I think that's the biggest achievement when I don't focus it on business topics.
Perfect. And if you had to choose between Zurich or Bern, what would you choose?
I would choose a part of Zurich and a part of Bern and mix it together. No, of course I'm from Bern and my roots are here and I'm based here, so it's Bern, but I think a little bit more of Zurich would be okay in Bern.
Got it. Apple or Google?
Both. Working on Apple, but I'm able to handle Google as well.
Perfect. And the last one for you today, Simon, lake or mountains?
Lake.
That's a clear one.
Lake with mountains in the background.
Yeah, you got that very well in the canton of Bern in
Yes,
Thun, right?
you know it.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for your time and for the insights behind the scenes of SWESA. And yeah, it's really great what you do. And thank you for the support. I think these are really important topics that you cover. And we're really glad that somebody's working on them because it's crucial to get the taxes, the funding, but most importantly, the talent in order to get a new startup launched.
We are trying hard. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.